What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and I'm here on a special episode of Path to a Million podcast with a new friend of mine, Dr. Phil Golinsky. Dr. Phil, how's it going, brother?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. So to give a little bit of backstory on how we even ended up on this call, it's a good content marketing story. So I restarted our content process early May, and maybe about a couple weeks into it, I started getting, more likes, more comments, more people reaching out to me. And Phil reached out to me, not like needing anything from me. He was just like, "Hey man, keep up the good work, good content, blah, blah, blah." So I was like, "Oh, is he a chiropractor? Who is he?" So I looked at him and I was like, "Man, this guy's like doing it big." So I like reached out to you and was just like, "Hey, you seem like you like the podcast. Would you like to come on as a guest?" Because I'm always looking for guests that are like doing it the right way. And so here we are.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming on.
Man, it's an honor. And for your listeners out there, this is my very first podcast with a chiropractor. So I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Well, you seem like, we were talking a little bit before that, like when you finally do retire from the business side of it, you want to get into teaching. So it seems like you come from a chiropractic servant's heart. So this is just one of those steps in trying to serve the profession. So I appreciate you taking the time. So we talked about the structure of the podcast, and like, I want to hear your path to a million. But I won't spoil it, but let's start there. Let's start with, first of all, where'd you go to school, and kind of like a quick, how'd you become a chiropractor story?
Sure. Okay. So I was a music major. I was employed in college by Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. And I was in the music industry, actually making a living. But when you're 20 years old in a music studio and you're getting yelled at by the producers and you don't have a whole lot of confidence, you're wondering, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Mm-hmm. So I was always wondering, what am I going to do? I was very, very ADHD, although they didn't have that word in undergraduate school, but I couldn't pay attention in school that well. But I knew as long as I was using my hands, I'd be okay. So I was very open to a profession that I could use my hands. And I was seeing a chiropractor at the time, and there was an adjustment that he gave. I looked at him and I saw him using his hands, and he didn't seem like he was working. He looked like he was having a good time. And I said, I think I could do that. I think he works with his hands. I work with my hands. Maybe I could. I'd never taken a science class, but the moment I made that decision to become a chiropractor was the moment I got nervous, because I'm like, now I have to take a science class. So that's how I got into it. I went down to, or matriculated into Life University in the summer of 1991. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I had heard that there was this crazy maniac, Dr. Sid Williams, who was running the school, and it was the largest chiropractic college in the world. And when I heard about this individual, I said, I want to go meet him. Didn't know anything about him. I drove down to Life from Marietta, Georgia. Didn't even tour any of the schools. I knew that was the school I was going to. And looking back, it was the best thing I ever did. I graduated September 18th, 1995.
Nice.
And for those historians in chiropractic, we know what the day of September 18th, 1895 is, right? So I graduated 100 years after the very first adjustment was given. And we prided ourselves in that momentous day. But back in 1995, Nick, when did you graduate from chiropractic college?
2006.
Okay. So back then in 1995, that was the heyday. That was the golden years of Life University. They had 3,000 people, 4,000 people at that school alone. And you couldn't walk from quad A to quad B without bumping into people, because it was packed. It was life. It was filled with chiropractic students and a lot of hope and a lot of enthusiasm. And they had speakers coming from all over the world to speak or at least be around the school. So we had full access to all of these great mentors. I met Vern Pierce. I met Peter Petitbon. Michael Kale was my mentor. I mean, all of these. Reggie Gold was around. He wasn't allowed on campus because Sid and Reggie had their thing, but Reggie was off campus. So we all went to go see Reggie Gold. And there was Donnie Epstein that was speaking when no one really understood what network spinal analysis was, but we all went to his seminars and his lectures and his gates. And it was a lot of fun back then. And, graduating from that school, we all came out of school with a lot of enthusiasm that we were going to change the world. We had this cavalier attitude that we were going to turn healthcare around. Yeah. And I still, thank goodness, have that attitude, although it's pivoted a little bit. But since 1995, I've been on fire, and I haven't lost the love of chiropractic. It's still deep within my heart.
That's awesome. Well, you seem like you're on fire. So you graduate 95. What was kind of your path? Did you become an associate? Did you open up a practice right away? Like, how'd you end up?
Man, I was so damn dumb. I couldn't write a resume. I couldn't write a resume. So I said, excuse my French, fuck it. I'll open my own practice.
Sure.
And I was listening to Pete Fernandez on those little audio. I went to a 𝗵𝘀𝗶𝗹 seminar.
He was the guy in Florida with the beard, right?
I never met him.
Yeah.
But I went to a 𝗵𝘀𝗶𝗹 seminar, and this guy changed my life. And I'll tell you about that a little later on, because I was looking at all my notes, my goals back that I wrote in 1993, and it's eerie what you write down. And if you look at it every 3 to 6 months, how you're going to transform those thoughts and those beliefs and those wishes and those dreams into reality. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that later on. But one of the tapes that I received as a gift for going to 𝗵𝘀𝗶𝗹 seminar was a Pete Fernandez tape. And he was interviewing a guy named Dr. Ignatius Piazza. I think he practiced in California, and he was practicing in the early 1990s. And Piazza knocked on 3,000 doors. So I said, I'll knock on 3,000 doors.
Sure.
I didn't have a marketing bone in my body.
Right.
I didn't have a business bone in my body, but I knew I could adjust. I was a troll to 2 chiropractors. One is Dr. Michael Kale, and he was probably responsible for the resurrection of the knee-chest adjustment, right? Upper cervical specific knee-chest adjustment with a neurocoulometer, the dual probed. And I trolled him. I also trolled another mentor of mine, Dr. 𝗯𝗏𝗏, who was responsible for the MLS seminars and making love to the spine. At the time, it was now called Master Love and Servantry. And he ran the Masterpiece training camp. So between those 2 chiropractors, Kale, who drove a Rolls Royce and lived in a castle for real, and Arno, who just was all about love and service, serving humanity through the artistry of chiropractic. Between those 2 individuals, I felt that I had enough in me. And luckily, I was young, dumb, and stupid and ignorant to believe I did. And somehow I didn't fuck it up. And I managed to not fail.
Yeah. So tell me about your path from 0 to 250,000 a year. Let's call it like 20,000 a month. What was it that allowed you to go from starting out from scratch, not knowing a whole lot? What gave you that first boost?
Okay. So the first 4 years was abysmal. It didn't really grow the way I wanted it to grow. And I wasn't upset. I was just, I was really oblivious to numbers. I was the president of the Northern Virginia Chiropractic Society by year 2 or 3. Again, I was enthusiastic about chiropractic. I loved the profession. And, quite frankly, I was the right person at the right time to become part of this president of the Northern Virginia Chiropractic, which is where I'm from, Northern Virginia. And so as a result of being the president, I get to bring in the speakers. So, of course, I brought in all my mentors, 𝗀𝗶𝗶𝗃, I brought in Donald Epstein, I brought in Reggie Gold, I brought in 𝗯𝗏𝗏𝗏, and all of these chiropractors. Like, how are you getting these guys? Like, they're my friends. I knew these guys for 4 years in school. And so there was a chiropractor. His name was Dr. Eric Plasker. I brought him in. And by the way, I was too cheap to put him up in a hotel, so I had him stay in my house. And the benefits of me saving the money was they got to hang out with me, and I get to stay up with them all night, asking them personal questions like, how did you practice and what did you do? And I mean, I was like an interview person. I wish I had some of these recorded, because it would have been so fascinating to go back and listen to it. But I have these people stay at my house, and I had Eric Plasker staying at my house, and we had such an amazing connection. And he was just starting his consulting family practice back in 1996, 1997, or 98. And he said, Phil, I want to give you a gift, and I'm not going to charge you for it. So I couldn't say no. He goes, I want you part of my family practice. And so I said, okay. And at that time, I was really only making about maybe $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. This is after 2 or 3 years of practice, but my overhead was very low. I opened my first practice, by the way, for about $5,000. I told you I didn't have a business bone, and I'm not proud of that. I wouldn't say that's a good thing. It's not a good thing, and I'm going to go into that later on. But I didn't, and I worked with what I had, and I asked my grandmother for $15,000. I already had $100,000 worth of debt from loans, and my grandmother was gracious enough, and she was probably thinking he's going to need more, and I didn't know that I wouldn't, so I didn't ask. But with that $15,000, that was enough to live off of and open a practice for $5,000. And so I had a very low budget practice, and we'll talk about that later on as we're talking about that path. But probably after 2 or 3 years, I was still making maybe, I don't know, $100,000, $110,000, $115,000, $120,000. I really wasn't. I was strapped.
But I mean, you're saying like take home you were making?
No, altogether.
Altogether, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, but the overhead was low because I didn't have any staff. For the first 2 years, it was just me, and I knocked on the doors, I'd answer the phones, I'd take the money, I'd schedule. Yep. I didn't have any procedures.
Sure.
Okay. Now, so Eric allows me to join his training, and all of a sudden I learned these procedures. So we went from basically probably $115,000, $120,000 gross, and we tripled that in about probably in a year and a half. He gave me procedures.
So just getting those basic structures in place. And if I mean, I know I believe this. It sounds like you probably would agree with me that when you start out in practice, there is no valor in trying to like reinvent the wheel and figure this stuff out for yourself. And there are enough coaches and experts out there at this point where it is well worth your investment of time and money to like pay people to help you hit the fast forward button.
Yes. Yeah. If I could do one thing over again, I wouldn't associate. I'm not sorry I opened my practice by myself. The first thing, and I would have done this 3 months before I graduated, and as a student, it's going to be very difficult to put things into practicality. Mm-hmm. But I would have joined up with a coaching class. And it, honestly, and Dr. Nick, you might agree, you might not, but the coaches that I've heard now over the last 80% of the information is relatively the same.
Right.
20% is relatively different. Okay. So as long as you're a good student and you do what they say, you're going to be successful. But you got to get a coach, and don't think that you can figure it out. Why? They always said, why reinvent the wheel? I was young and dumb and stupid. Like I said, I'm not telling you I'm the smartest guy. In fact, I'm probably I would always pride myself as the least intelligent, most successful person you're ever going to meet. Okay. But I joined up with Eric, but I'm the hardest worker. No one's going to outwork me, and no one's going to be a better student. Those are two things that matter to everyone.
I think if you're gonna do coaching, those are two of the most important things that you can be to be coachable, is to do the work. Like, you paid them for their expertise, do the work, be the good student, like, try to be someone's testimonial is what I always like recommend to people. Is like, if they want you as a testimonial, it means you did all the things right. And it's like, there's enough now what happens is a lot of these coaching programs are realizing that if we can get into the schools, we can start to catch people before they even graduate, and they come out ready to go. Right. And then hopefully they can be a coaching client for life.
Yes.
But there are enough coaches now to where you should be able to find the person that you align with really well. I've done enough coaching now to where I know when it feels right. And so if you are a student out there and you're thinking about opening up your own practice, look for some of those coaching programs that have, student programs, and test a couple of them out, because they usually either do it for free or do it for a very small amount of money, but at least see if you vibe with them well, so that when you get out and it's time to like start cutting checks, that you're with the right group instead of bouncing around.
Yeah. The big win Dr. Eric Plasker taught me was a day one and a day two, which 25 years later, now it's morphed into my personality.
Sure.
Day one and day two, as well as there was a tape that he had called Chiro Teams. And I remember this, and I'll never forget it. And this is for all of your listeners out there. Do what you love to do and delegate the rest. Mm-hmm. Do what you love to do and delegate the rest. So when I'm hiring someone, at this point, I don't even hire the people because I got 70 staff. I have a director of hiring right now, and she hires people. So I don't know how that works. But back then, when it was just me, myself, and I'd hire people. I didn't want to answer the phones anymore. So the person had to have a good phone voice. Well, I didn't want to take the money. I'd have a person who was good at taking money. So those became the criteria that they needed to have to work for me.
Yeah.
And then that's the Chiro Teams, and his day one and day two really gave me a lot of value. And it allowed me to free up my time to create other aspects to help build a practice.
And honestly, like, I can't imagine that you would have gotten to where you are today if you just tried to do it all yourself.
Can't.
Like, if you were trying to strap it all on your back, it just never works. You never grow past whatever you are physically able to do. And if you want to grow beyond yourself, you've got to be able to trust your team.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I've learned along the way. One of them is time and money. You know, in the very beginning of all our practices, we have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And as we develop success, it's going to take time developing success. You have more and more money, but less and less time.
Right.
So right now, I'm up at 4:30. I'm texting my director of training at 5:30. I tell her, don't answer me until 7, whenever she wakes up. But I'm starting to text people at 5:30. I don't have a whole lot of time in my day just for recreation and leisure. My wife and I gather. We get together at 8 o'clock. We check in with each other at 8 o'clock, and from 8 o'clock until 10:30. That's our bedtime. We get together and we commiserate. But we don't have a whole lot of time, but we got money. So when you don't have a lot of time right now, the idea of freedom is what I'm going to say is this. When you have money and you don't have a lot of time, that's when you delegate. You take some of that money to buy. And how you buy time is you hire staff. And there's 3 things. You write this down, guys. There's 3 things that you're going to need to know when you're going to hire someone. When you hire someone, under no excuses, they're there to make you money, they're there to give you time, and they're there to take stress away from you. Those are the 3 reasons why you're going to hire someone. They're there to make you money, give you time, and take stress away. And you're going to pay them 10% more than the going rate is. I don't want to pay more. Well, you don't want to lose them for another $1 or 2 or 3 more an hour. They're giving you money, or they're giving you time, they're making you money, and they're taking away stress. Pay them 10% more so they never walk away from you.
Yeah.
And by the way, they're going to create a lifestyle based upon that salary. Then you got them. You got them, and you give them bonuses.
Yeah.
25% of their salary should be bonus related based upon production. Okay. And your job is to give them a little bit more than they're going to get elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Give them retirement and give them good benefits. Don't be cheap, man. They're going to make you money. They're going to give you time. They're going to take away stress.
Yep.
That's the 3 easiest equations. I'm a simple guy. I told you I'm the least intelligent person who's going to be more successful, because it's very simple in how you're going to think about these things. Time, energy, and money. That's it.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the 25% of their income should come from bonuses. I think that's great. I also think that it seems like you've got a little bit of what I think has made me successful in life, is that sometimes you just got to take the leap. You got to be willing to lay the money out and hope that it all works out the way you think it should. And if you aren't willing to lay that money out, it's not even about losing them over $1 or 2. Yeah. It's about never getting the A player and having to settle for the B- player. And those B- players, they turn into F players real quick when everything doesn't go just right. But man, if you're willing to just kind of close your eyes and not think about it too hard and just go for it, because you believe that having this person in this position or creating this position, man, it allows you to really take the chance and kind of bet on yourself. That's the way I always think about it.
Yep. And here's the beautiful thing, guys. If it's not the right person, replace them.
Right.
They ain't going nowhere. You're paying them 10% more than they're going to get elsewhere. You can replace them. You're going to know, you're going to have as many resumes. You're going to try to pick the right person. And sometimes you guess wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes you guess right. It's never an exact science, but you can always replace someone if they're not that A player. And building a championship team requires no weak links.
Right.
And you're going to know quickly if there's a weak link and get rid of them, because they poison the bunch. You got one resentful, jealous person that doesn't want to work, that doesn't take that computer home because I'm not going to work after guess what? Get rid of them. You don't want that becoming infectious to the other people. Sure. We've seen that before. We had to get rid of them. We got to tail them out. Yep. And once people know that we will get rid of you, they snap up.
Yeah.
They do what we expect. They're getting paid more than they're going to get elsewhere. You got to do that. You hold that for leverage so you can expect greatness from people and expect it. That's how you're going to become great yourself.
Yeah. All right, let's do the 20. So basically Eric Plasterer comes in, saves the practice, triples it up.
Right.
Now let's talk about from that 250 to 500K a year. What's that next step after you got the systems in place? You got the day 1, day 2, you've hired a little bit of help. Then what's next?
Then you got to have new patients coming in. So what I did, this is my creation. I created a company called Health Fairs Plus. Health Fairs Plus. So I'm doing speaking engagements. It's not going great. It's not going bad, but it's still giving me about 10 to 12 new patients a month. And one of the patients that I took care of, I was pediatric based. Mm-hmm. I was just, Larry Webster was one of my teachers before he passed. He was a teacher of mine. So I was pediatric based, and I specialized in kids with sensory integrative disorders. I was ICPA certified, back in the 1990s. I love taking care of families. And one of the moms that I took, one of the kids who were taken care of, their mom was an HR of a big corporation around where I lived. Okay. And she said, hey, would you come and do a health fair? And I go, well, what's that? And she said, well, it's when you bring your spine, we'll give you a table and you get to talk to all of our employees. So I do this thing in 3 hours. And in 3 hours, it turned into as many patients as I would have gotten in a whole month. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now remember, I was a music major. What's that got to do with chiropractic? Well, I was writing music. There's that creative part of my brain that's still revving. And I'm thinking of this health thing. How do I do this thing 15 times a year? How do I do this 20 times a year? Within 6 months, I created a company called 𝗏𝗡𝗏 Plus. I pay a girl. I said, listen, here's your salary. It's going to be whatever. It was $40,000. And at that time, $40,000 was a lot of money. Sure. But I also said, if she's not successful, so I said, you've got 6 weeks to put together a health fair. You've got 6 weeks to put together this company and put together a health fair. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do it, I got to replace you. Now, within 5 weeks, she said, hey, Dr. Phil, I got a health fair. And it was GTSI. I don't know what that company means or stands for, but it was a health fair. It was in corporate America. And now check this out. Now, this model doesn't really work as well anymore. But the tenets of 𝗏𝗡𝗏 Plus was, it was one person that set up health fairs. Now, obviously, it wasn't called RX Wellness, or at the time called Golinsky Chiropractic. It was called 𝗏𝗡𝗏 Plus. Right. It was a separate company. So I was just another vendor. But really, it was my company, and that used me as a Trojan horse to get into corporate America. Yeah. So we started doing about 20 to 30 health fairs every single year in corporate America. And the deal was they had to be close by to my office. They all had to have good insurance, because if they didn't have good insurance, we weren't doing that health fair. Yeah. And of course, they all had jobs. So if you're at a county fair, one of the things that you're going through these people when you're talking to them, not just that they have a subluxation or spinal issues, but you have to find out, are you close by? Or is it Mary from Alabama who's just visiting their cousin for a wedding and never going to come back in again? Are they been between jobs, or do they have the bad insurance that just doesn't cover chiropractic care? Yeah. And that could be an issue. It might not be an issue, but for me, it was an issue if they didn't have insurance. So, because we were insurance-based, so we would create health fairs based upon proximity to our office and insurance reimbursement, or at least the types of insurance. And of course, since it was a health fair at a corporate America, they all had jobs. So there we started winning. We went from probably $250,000 to about $750,000 to $900,000 within about a year and a half. Because now I had a vehicle. I had a process that didn't rely on me. It relied on Andrea Quinn, and she ran that show. And it was independent of me. And we did this thing for the next 15 years. And we rolled that dice, and we went hard. We sometimes did 20, 30 health fairs every single year for the next 15 years. And so we went to that level.
I knew that we were brothers from a different mother before this, but I did the exact same thing. Mine was called Springfield Health Check. And, it was a dream for being able to, because when, back then, like before social media, you had to like generate opportunities to get in front of people. And for me, like spinal screening, I was good at them. And, and when I hired my second associate, I was like, all right, I'm retiring from seeing patients, but I need to like do something to like generate business. Right. And that's what I would do. I would, we'd usually have one about once a week, once every other week. Yeah. And I'd go and like do my thing. And there was no one more excited to be doing spinal screenings than me, who did not have to see the patients when they came in the office. Because that's what I used to hate about spinal screens. I'm like, I'm going to do a good job here and I'm going to get 10 new patients. Then I got to see them. Yeah. So as soon as I had people that could see them, then I'm like, bring me all the health fairs that I can do. Yeah.
Now, tell me this. Tell me when you were doing a county fair.
Oh, yeah.
Your A game, your A game was on when you saw more chiropractors there, because you're like, okay, man. All right, man, what you got? What you got? Because I'm going to beat you. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to want you to starve. Sure. I'm going to be my A game plus at these county fairs if I saw 4 or 5 or 6 other chiropractors. So I love the competitions. I don't know how you felt about that.
I always want to put my boot on the neck of any competition, but I do like having the room to myself. That's for sure.
Well, at corporate health fairs, don't forget, because it was my company. If there was another chiropractor that heard about health fairs, I'm sorry, we already have our chiropractor filled up. We're
all filled up. Sorry about that. Yeah, we'd have the same guys ask about it all the time, and I don't know how they didn't put 2 and 2 together, but they didn't. So, well, that's good, and that kind of. That almost gets you to the million, but the way you were telling me before is basically that's where you got stuck.
That's where I was stuck.
Okay.
I got stuck because although the procedure wasn't based upon me, I couldn't scale me. I couldn't scale that procedure. And I wasn't going to put my name or put a risk at opening multiple practices. Yeah. So I only had one practice. And at the time it was called Golinsky Specific Chiropractic. Now, I want to just share this. I share this every now and then. I've shared it on a couple of podcasts that I've been on. But if you stay in the game long enough, luck will find you. So write that down. If you stay in the game long enough, luck will find you. So whether you're in practice for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years right now, and you're getting an opportunity, if you stay in the game long enough, luck will find you. Now I'm going to go back to my early days of knocking on doors. I knocked on 3,000 doors. I didn't even remember knocking on this door, but a girl named Sandy Pittman sent in her husband. Guy's name was Bob Pittman. And if you want to look him up, you can Google him as I'm telling you this story. So Bob walks in, and Bob was probably as charismatic as I'd ever met. The guy had confidence, he had charisma, he was a good-looking guy, and he was different. He used different words I had never heard before. I knew this guy was a pretty smart man. I knew it immediately. And probably his 6th or 7th visit, he said, "Hey, do you have an email address?" This is back in 1996 when I first opened my practice. I'd probably been in practice for 3 months. And I said, I don't. So the next day he walks in, not even on his regular time. And trust me, I wasn't seeing many more people than 5 or 6 or 7 a day. He walked in on my off time, and he said, "Hey, I got some discs I want to plug into your computer." He goes, "Give me a credit card." They give him the credit card. And this guy worked for a company called AOL, America Online. And so he says, "What do we want to call you?" And call me? What do you mean? What am I going to call myself? I don't know. So he says, "I got it." He looks up and literally within a half a millisecond, he goes, "I got it. I like this." Plugs it in. Da-da-da-da. "You like this?" And it says rxwellness@aol.com. I said, "I like it." Mm-hmm. Wow. Prescription for wellness at AOL.com. And it's, "Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. Man, keep this. And by the way, I like this so much, I think you should go on the internet and see if rxwellness.com is available." "Oh, for a website, huh?" Mm-hmm. Oh, well, again, this was probably a very, very intelligent guy. And I'll tell you about his CV or his resume in a second. But I did what he said. And I landed rxwellness.net because .com was taken at the time. And when .com became available, I got that too. So now I have rxwellness.net and .com. So my wife, who I'm married to over now 10 years, she's my second wife, and she was in corporate America. And we'll bring her into the picture in a moment, because that was really the thing that leapfrogged me into where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. So my wife and I were talking about this guy, Bob Pittman. By the way, Bob Pittman was the guy that branded MTV. And then he turned Prodigy into AOL.com. And now he's the president and CEO of iHeartRadio. So when you got a guy that's a serial entrepreneur and it's a badass motherfucker, you listen to that guy. Right. And if you stay in the game long enough, because I had a measly email address, rxwellness@aol.com, with a website called rxwellness.net, but my chiropractic practice was called Golinsky Chiropractic. Obviously, I didn't know how to brand.
Sure.
And my wife is saying, "How does this all work together?" And I'm asking her to come aboard, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. But I'm asking her to come on board. Now, we're in a train in Philadelphia on a little vacation. And so she's like, "Wow." Because she knew who Bob Pittman was. Everyone knows who Bob Pittman is in the tech industry, if you've been in the tech industry long enough. This guy was a giant. Because AOL, which is located about 10 minutes away from our practices, AOL was the Google of its time back in the 1990s. Yeah. There's young people. It was a phenomenal monster back then. And so she was laughing about how I got this name, RX1. So she said, "Why don't we just rebrand you? Let's move your office and let's do something big." Because this woman, my wife, was a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
And what year was this?
This is back in about I've been married to her since 2012. This is probably 2008, 17, 18.
So just so we're clear, from about 91, I think you said?
1996 is when I opened practice.
96 to 2000, and when is when you rebranded?
So from 1996 to 2017, I was Golinsky Chiropractic.
Okay. So 21 years, and in those 21 years, you did not break $1 million.
Never broke $1 million. I think I might have, my highest was maybe 950.
Okay. But you were always in that, like, once you did the wellness fairs, you were kind of always in that 800, 900, 950 range.
1,000%. Never went below 800, never went above 950. And, probably, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was never above $1 million. And trust me, anybody who's gone past $1 million never forgets their first time.
Right.
You always remember.
Right.
And I can tell you for certainty, I did not clear the $1 million mark back when I was Golinsky Chiropractic.
So anyway, your wife works for PricewaterhouseCoopers.
My wife, now, for those that don't know what Big Four is, you can't just apply right out of college to Big Four if you go to a middle tier school.
And this is the Big Four accounting firms.
Yes, Big Four accounting and consulting firms. It's Deloitte, Ernst & Young, KPMG, and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Okay? You got to be smart, you got to be driven, and you have to be relentless. If you don't have those qualities, you're not going into Big Four. Mm-hmm. You can go to a mid-tier consulting firm. That's great. But Big Four are the baddest ass motherfuckers, and they know how to fucking scale a business. Mm-hmm. They can write a business plan and a proposal upside down, backwards, and forwards. And they're trained how to do it. Okay, so my wife had the training. She had been a partner. So you have an Asian female who's got a chip on her shoulder because she grew up poor, and now she's working as an executive at one of the giants. And so she had this hoity-toity executive attitude, and I was her husband. Now, she loved what I did. I helped, she's my second wife, so I helped both of her kids get off of asthma inhalers by adjusting their spine and telling some dietary changes. And she believed in natural healthcare, but here she is scaling multi-billion-dollar companies. She scaled Mandarin Oriental. She scaled Tiffany's. She created their websites. But now she's in charge of scaling pharmaceuticals, and she knows my opinion on pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. And she's talking to some executives at AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer. And they're saying, hey, the pendulum is shifting. This is back in 2017. The pendulum is shifting. We need to go towards push these products out before the FDA fully approves this, because the pendulum is shifting to natural healthcare. And before it goes all the way, we got to, make our profit margins. My wife hears this. It's some sort of top level meeting. And she's like, Phil, I'm done. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. I had been asking her to leave PricewaterhouseCoopers for 3 or 4 years. And of course, she wasn't going to do it. She was making well into the mid 6 figures. Needless to say, she's an executive. She's a road warrior. She's running about 30 to 40 staff of all really smart people. She had a really good gig going. Yeah. But when it came down to the personal beliefs of natural healthcare, she said, I'm not going to sell my soul to the drug company. Fuck them. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. So we tore down Golinsky Chiropractic. We went into another space. We rebuilt another space. And I'm going to say this, write this down. This is a golden nugget. If you want to have $1 million practice, your practice better look like it's worth $1 million before you ever open up on day one. Mm-hmm. So let me say that again. If you want to have a multi-million-dollar practice, your practice has to look like it's worth $1 million before you have a patient in there on day one. It has to look nice. Mm-hmm. Walk into a BMW dealership and walk into a Rolls-Royce dealership, or walk into a Ferrari dealership, or walk into a McLaren dealership. Then go back into a BMW dealership, and you'll see a different. BMW is a nice car, but it's not a Rolls-Royce.
Right.
Okay. If you want to have a multi-million-dollar practice, you have to make it look like $1 million office. And Dr. Nick, you've seen what my practices look like, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I looked at your website; they look great.
So. And that's not by accident, because what my wife wanted, what Phoebe wanted, she wanted to do top end services. Mm-hmm. Top end. Okay. So she said, if we're going to do this, Phil, if we're going to do this right, you got to put some money out there. So the first practice, I'm shaking because the check is $250,000 to do the build out.
Right.
My first practice cost me $5,000. Now I'm going to spend $250,000.
Right.
And what if this doesn't work? And let me tell you something. The confidence that I have now only comes from years of experience and seeing exactly what she said was going to happen. But I did not know this was going to happen the way it happened. But she says, fuck you, Phil. She didn't say that. But she said, Phil, stop being the P word, because she called me that multiple times. And she said, listen, I've done this for the last 20 years. I know what's going to happen. If you put yourself, write this down, guys, I'm giving you gold nuggets, prime selling conditions. Don't be cheap and put yourself on a 4th floor in the middle of a backwards alley because rent is, $20 a square foot and being run retail is $32. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. You're going to cut your ankle off, man. Prime selling conditions, guys. Prime selling conditions. That means best of. You do everything first class. Prime selling conditions. You do that, you're going to cultivate a crowd where price isn't the barrier. Right. Because when they walk into something that they see a value, price is secondary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you did. And that first year, the first 18 months, we moved across the street. Across the street, guys. It wasn't even like a whole different demographic. It was literally like across the street. And people that have come to my practice and show me old practice, and they're like, that's where the old practice was? And I go, yeah. We went from $900,000, let's say for round numbers, to $1.5 million that next year. We never looked back. Within 2 years, we were $2.5 million. We opened 2 practices the following year, then 2 practices the following year. So now we have 5. We're opening up a 6th practice in just 10 weeks from now.
So let's talk about going from basically $1 million to the $2.5 million.
Okay.
What like we got the prime selling conditions, and your wife's on board, and she's like keeping you from being, a scared little bitch about writing checks. But like, what was the big thing that really moved it from the $1 million to $2.5 million?
Well,
$2.5 million is a real number. There's not a lot of chiropractors that are doing $2.5 million out of one practice.
And I'm not bullshitting you. I sent you my number.
Well, I believe it. I'm just saying that that's the 1% of the 1%.
Well, you saw my numbers. I showed you my last month, right?
Yep.
Last month, how much did I do? You can say the number altogether.
I don't remember, but you tell me.
$700,000.
Nice.
Or maybe $750,000. Yeah. $750,000
across all the 5 offices.
That's all 5 offices.
Yeah.
But you counted those numbers, and I'm not bullshitting you guys. You can do this if you put yourself in prime selling conditions, but you got to have a little balls, and you got to work your ass off. They're not going to come to you. You got to work your ass off. It's not like, oh, I did this thing and now come to me. No, you have to show up every day. You have to know your procedures. You have to have your processes. You got to get your head right. If your head's not right and you're thinking about the money, it ain't going to happen. You got to serve humanity. You got to serve people. And you got to do it for the right reasons, because people are going to see right through you, especially if you have an educated crowd. Yeah. If you're in there for the money, man, they're going to see right through you. But you got to have a passion for what you do. When you serve humanity through chiropractic, you got to have that passion, that desire to help people. Transcends upon money. So the first thing we did was we built a beautiful office. The second thing we also did with that beautiful office, we now had an X-ray unit. So I was surviving I was doing pretty well for not having an X-ray unit. You can't open a practice for $5,000 and have an X-ray. So we put an X-ray unit in there, a nice digital X-ray, and all of a sudden now people can see their spine. And where they wouldn't accept the care plan, now they see their spine, whether it be phase 2 or phase 3 of degeneration. And you're like, oh my God, like that doesn't look good. And I go, no, it doesn't, Mary. What do you think we should do about it? I mean, I'm not going to give you my day 2 because I can, but that's another conversation. Sure. So what happened when I looked back, I felt like I was Danielson on the Karate Kid. I was waxing on and waxing off in my small little practice. And I was figuring out the processes and the procedures for the day 1, day 2 in a not so great practice. Then put me in prime selling conditions, a gorgeous office with an X-ray unit. And the same procedures that was giving me relative success moved me from here to here. Okay. It just took off. And what Phoebe did was, she took us out of she took us out of the competition, or whatever you want to call it, of where most chiropractors go. Okay. We built our own website. We spent a lot of money on it. And it was the same team that built Mandarin Oriental. And it was the same team that built Tiffany's. She knew those guys because they worked for her. So we paid them on the side, and they built us our website. Now, if you're going to drag race and your car has 100,000 miles, 100 horsepower, and the car next to you that you're going to race against has 1,000 horsepower, you got a 100 horsepower engine, and the other car has 1,000 horsepower engine, who's going to win?
1,000 horsepower.
That's what we have. So what she did was she built a website that was meant for like a multi-state website. The architecture is so deep. And we became number 1 in every single location that we opened up within 2 months. That's right. No one can keep up with us. We're just top level. We have 2 full-time blog writers. We have a technology team that's always on it. My team is directed to contact my director of marketing when the numbers look like they're slowing down, and my director of marketing goes to our technology team and they tweak things, and boom, the numbers come up again. Because Google will change algorithms every now and then, and you really can't control it. But what we can control is tweaking different things so we can always optimize where we're at. Yeah, that gives us a definitive competitive advantage because we have a management team. I know one of the questions you're going to ask me, because everyone asks me, how'd you scale so fast? What Phoebe did was she put together a management team. Now, trust me, we couldn't afford this. It wasn't like, oh, we have all this money flowing in, because all the money that we brought in, our practices cost close to $500,000, $250,000 for the build out, another $100,000 for the equipment, and another $50,000 for the working capital. That's $400,000. Right. So all of our we have no debt, or we had no debt. So we were bringing in the money, and fast as we were bringing the money in, we were building practices in the very beginning. So we felt very comfortable because we now knew it wasn't based upon health fairs. By the way, this is in the middle of COVID. COVID never stopped us.
Wow.
In fact, if anything, COVID helped us because now people will buy their computers 20% more in non-ergonomically friendly conditions, their house or their couch and their coffee table, and they're bored, so they're working. They don't have their coffee or their water cooler conversations, right? They can't ask their next door neighbor at the corporate America place, hey, how was your weekend? And have a conversation for a half hour. No, man, they're working. Yeah. And they know that their keystrokes are being monitored. So now they got a lot of back and neck pain. They're working at home. And I was their excuse to get out of the house sometimes, especially in the very beginning. But, you know, COVID actually helped us because now people are not going for health fairs, but we had set ourselves up a little bit by luck. But if you stay in the game long enough, luck finds you. We were working on these websites long enough to know that by the time COVID hit, we had full traction and we just took off because now, and we'll never go back to health fairs, our website can scale our businesses. I don't need to have a magnificently charismatic chiropractor to do a health fair or a spinal screening. I just need to have good visibility with a good reputation in whatever town we're going to go into. And then they go in for the reputation of the chiropractor. And that's called pull marketing. When we do an event outside, that's push marketing. Okay. Can I talk about that, Nick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. Push marketing is this. You're out there, spinal screenings, corporate health fairs, even a dinner talk. People don't know what they're really getting themselves into. They saw this thing, they're walking by, and they happen to have a problem. You do a spinal screening, you explain the problem, and you say, hey, would you like to come on in? You're pushing them into your office. They didn't go to the festival to find a chiropractor.
Right.
They didn't do that. They just happen to see you in the right time at the right place, and you get them. And that will work. Yeah. But Dr. Nick, I'm sure you'll know the statistics. You're probably going to be for every 10 people you sign up, about 3 end up becoming a patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes 4 or 5.
And Facebook's the same way. They don't go on Facebook to like click on your ad or find a chiropractor. And that's why like so many offices are so frustrated with quote unquote online marketing because all of their efforts are going into push marketing.
Right. And that's push. And you will have some success, but it is frustrating and it's a lot of attrition and you're going through a lot. And as long as you're okay with the numbers, as long as you're okay with 33%, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Don't get frustrated. Just accept it. That's just what it is. But we had the website and Google is our best friend. You know, like I remember you on a podcast. By the way, I love your podcasts. You inspire me. You give me information. Hey, Phoebe, are we doing this? Phoebe, this is Phoebe.
Phoebe's probably like fucking this guy again.
pretty much. She's like, she basically says, fuck you. I'm like this rah-rah guy who knows nothing about technology.
Sure.
So I might sound smart right now, but I really don't know a whole lot. It's my wife that does the whole technology gig. And she's like, I have a damn team, Phoebe. Phil. It's like, we're doing it. We're doing well. but you're giving it to the masses and you're breaking it down to a very, very simple understanding. They got to put the work in. Yeah. No one's writing those blogs, but they got to, and you chiropractors, by the way, you're the subject matter expert. That's a big word in corporate America, but you're you know what you know. Your people out there in your community, they don't know what you know. So write your blogs, spend about an hour or two a day or an hour or two a week, write a blog and get it online because you are the subject matter expert in whatever people you want to serve. Write your blogs based upon those topics. It's not difficult, but you got to spend some time. Shut down Facebook, cut your cable, find time because the one thing you can't make up is time. You can make more money, but you can't make up time. Right. So I write blogs actually. I love writing blogs and I love educating. But we do have full-time blog writers, a team of technology, and a director of marketing. We have the whole thing, and pretty much we put a lot of resources into our marketing, knowing that if you don't bring in people, the company can't grow.
Right. You know? So, like to me, the 3 biggest, I guess, pillars of a successful practice is attraction, conversion, and retention. So we talked a lot about attraction, but you've got 5 practices. You're not in all 5 of them. So you've got associates that are working for you. What, in your opinion, like maybe we've talked about attraction, maybe talk about like what's important to you, especially with associates and making sure that they're doing things the right way. Cause not everybody is as charismatic as you are. So you got to have procedures in place. So talk to me a little bit about the conversion and then about the things that you focus on with the retention.
Okay. So every clinic director that runs one of my offices, now some of them are partners, they're minority partners. I love that. Yeah. They have skin in the game. I know they're not going anywhere. And I love it even more because they believe in us. And that brings a tear to my eye when someone really believes in us and they're willing to invest in us. So now they're a minority partner. So we have a couple of those in our practices, but some they came from a different clinic. They didn't have the financial resources to invest in their own practice. If they're now a clinic director, so they get a piece of the action, but they all come through me. They're all trained by me. And when I say training, it's on the job, boots on the ground. They're going to watch what I do. I'm going to give them videos. And then I'm going to say, Mary, I don't have a Mary, by the way. I'll say, Mary, do day 1s and day 2s. Let's see what you got. And I always tell Mary, I go, Mary, you're going to screw it up the first day, and don't worry. You're going to forget to breathe. You're going to forget the lines, and you're going to forget it, and that's okay. I expect you to.
Yeah.
They have to be willing to go through 50 people before they feel good. And I say this, Mary, when time slows down, then you know you're getting it. When you can project what they're going to say, when you can feel what the objections are going to be, and you can get in front of that and handle it before they even bring it up, that's when you're going to be a master closer. So on average, my clinic directors are about, I think it's about 91% successful from the day 2 and on. And I say day 2 because there's a lot of tire kickers. They walk in through a Groupon, and we do Groupons. We do a lot. We do everything.
Yeah.
You name it, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So they're Groupon people. They take an Uber 40 miles away. They're on Medicaid. They're not a qualified patient.
Right.
But, we're going to serve them, and we'll say, hey, Mary, if you like the care that you just received, we'd love it if you write a review. No, so we can get reviews from even people that don't have the need or the urgency or even the want for chiropractic care, but they just came in because it's a $30, x-rays and first visit, whatever. Yeah. So those aren't qualified people. So the people that are qualified, we'll have them come in for a day 2. I could feel that a question that you're going to ask me is what's the percentage of people that come in from a day 1 to a day 2? And that's probably about 80%.
That's still pretty
I'm not going to say it's 95%.
It's still pretty good, especially if you're turning some away.
Yes, we do turn people away.
Yeah.
It's about 80%. For those people that come in from a day 2 that convert to care, it's about 93%. Those are hard-ass numbers. I got statistics. I got Blue IQ that can prove it. And the reason why I look at my aunt, she's look her up, Joanne Mason Parker. She's my aunt. She's the youngest 9-ball pool champion in the world. She was 19 years old when she won that whole damn thing. And now she's in her 50s, and she's back on tour. She raised a family. She's now back on tour. And she came to visit me about a month ago, 2 months ago. And I love talking to her because I love talking to champions in any field. You give me a champion lemon picker, I want to know what's in that brain of that person. What made you a champion? What, right? So in pool, they know the next 3 or 4 shots before they shoot the current shot.
Yeah. If
you ever watch pool on TV, which sometimes I will, the commentators, and this person's going to hit the pool and it's going to land right here. And it always does. Yeah. Well, when you're a chiropractor, you better set that person up for success. So when I tell my associates, when they're first associates, I don't know who they're going to be. I don't know what they're going to become. I know though that they have to have at least B+ to A- hands. That's my criteria. They got to have good skills. I call it spatial orientation of the spine. If you don't have meaning, you're going to suck for the first 2,500 adjustments. Let's just get that out of the way. If you haven't had 2,500 adjustments, if you only had 500 adjustments when you graduate chiropractic class, you suck. I know you don't want to hear that, but you still suck. You don't have enough hours underneath those hands. Okay. So after 2,500, from 5,000, you actually become pretty good. From 5,000 to about 10,000, you're actually good. At above 10,000, you're now professional. And at 100,000, you now become a master. I'm going to explain what mastery is. Mastery is this: when you have a sixth sense around your body, you have this aura that can feel where the energy is blocked. I know you guys think I'm crazy. If you haven't been in practice for 15 years, trust me. If you're focused on adjusting, releasing the life force, removing the subluxation, if you're in that zone and you're in that zone for 20 years, I've been in practice for 25 years. If you're in that space, your body can start to grow a nerve system, grow something, feel it around your body, that when you walk into a room, you feel through your gut or wherever it is, that part of your body, you can feel where there's blockages of energy, and you just know. You don't have to ask the person. That's when you become a master. And that probably takes about 100,000 adjustments. How are we doing? Is that accurate, Nick?
That sounds good to me. I never sniffed 100,000 adjustments, so I wouldn't know.
but so when I get a brand new chiropractor out of school, they might not have had 2,500. I can't let that affect my psyche on are they good or not. Do they have the potential to be good is my question. That's what I'm looking at. Do they have spatial orientation of the spine? Are they feeling the spine like they actually know what they're touching and I can train them? Or are they all over the place and really it's uncomfortable when they're feeling my spine or palpating my back?
Got it.
Okay. That's my criteria.
Yeah.
So going back to the day one, day two, they're actually asked to start before I'm going to decide if they're going to be clinic director. I'm going to teach them how to do a day one, day two. It's boots on the ground. And I train them. And the only way you can train them is just by watching them. So all my chiropractors, get back to your question, are trained through me personally. I enjoy that portion of what I do right now. And I'm still, by the way, in private practice. I still practice. I'm still adjusting people from 7 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm still there. And the reason why I am there is because A, I love it, but B, I feel it's my responsibility to make sure that any chiropractor that's part of RX Wellness gets put through me, and I'm a pain in the ass to work with. I am tough. I'm relentless. I will make sure that you are good at what you do because it's the reputation of RX Wellness that I care more about. And if they are good, we are going to find a space for them. They might be a clinic director or a closer, or they might be an associate. A lot of it has to do with what they want. Yeah. I have a couple of people that love being associate. They show up, they take care of people, they go home. Yeah. I have other people that want that extra bump. They want the upward mobility of being in practice. So they want to be a clinic director, and we'll build a practice around talent. We don't build just to build. We build around talent. If we don't have talent, if we don't have an earmarked doctor for a practice, we don't build.
Yeah.
The dumbest thing I see in car, they got this ego. I'm going to have 15 practices. You got 5 good doctors. Now you got 15. And there goes your reputation.
Right.
Now you got to fill it up with crap that shouldn't have been in a practice, but you had to bring them in because you were desperate. That's just a dumb business move. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just, I don't understand why ego. It's a pure business decision. So we'll build our practices around talent because I don't want them leaving. And I'll be really annoyed if I see Mary Smith Chiropractic, who is phenomenal in a small little practice, and she's not under the RX Wellness brand. So what my job is to make her piece bigger than what she would have gotten by herself.
Right.
So that's my goal, is to make her piece in RX Wellness bigger than what she would have gotten by herself. And it's not just financial. It's also stress. It's also building the practice out. It's also the marketing aspect. It's also everything. You know, you speak to chiropractors, and some of the biggest pains of a practice is marketing. And if you're under an umbrella where you're going to get 20 to 30 new patients every single week, you want to be part of that team.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I really do think that, maybe 20-25% of chiropractors that run businesses are like true entrepreneurs, and the rest are just like doing stuff that they really wish that they didn't have to do. And a lot of times there are opportunities, whether it's like somebody who works for me or somebody who works for you, where a lot of things get taken care of and they get to focus on the stuff that they want to focus on, and they get to go home, at 5:30 and not worry about it until, 8 in the morning. So that there's something to be said about that, not having to worry about it 24/7. And then there's those of us that are just kind of like built that way, and it's the stuff that we love.
Yeah. But they got to have good hands. That's the one thing everyone will say that Dr. Phil cares about. Good hands.
What do you think? Because I haven't hired an associate in a little while, but a lot of people, especially like during COVID, that a lot of the people that are graduating now, it seems like the adjusting coming out of school is kind of deteriorated. So how is it that because finding associates right now is tough.
Yeah.
And so finding associates that are B+, A- hands, it like filters out a lot of people. So which is probably good in the long run, but when you need to fill a spot, like what's your, I guess give some some thoughts on like how you hire, how you look for associates or clinic directors, and then kind of how you assess those adjusting skills.
So it's tough, and COVID did not serve the students because they lowered the criteria to graduate. So instead of, I think when I graduated, it was 300 people to adjust. I mean, it was 250 outpatients and 50, or maybe it was 100 people, student clinic, and 250 outpatients. So it's a total of 350 adjustments. Now, if I stuck with just the criteria, bare minimum, that wouldn't have made me a good adjuster. For me, when I find someone that has been part of the Kairos culture, Kairos training culture, KTC, by Brett Jones, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Brett, you're doing good work, man. If he's not been on your podcast, get him on. Guy's a badass.
We've had Jordan Fairley on. He's
North Carolina. Yeah. Phenomenal. So I love Kate. They didn't have KTC. They had an MLS, Arnaud. I think Brett was one of Arnaud's disciples. Brett did something I didn't do, which was he took some of Arno's work and probably other people's work and molded it into KTC, and now it's in all the schools. I love when students are waking up at 5:30 in the morning, because most aren't, but those that want to do the work, those that are willing to do the work, I want those people. So if you're a KTC, it's a very bashful or unbiased advertisement. If you're part of KTC and you're one of those students that was part of the Chiro Ninja Warrior and you've been waking up at 5:30 to do the exercise, please look out for RX Wellness. I want to hire you. You're probably going to be a good chiropractor because you're willing to do what it takes to get good. And it takes work. It doesn't happen overnight. When you want to be excellent at something, it takes a lot of work. It takes something that other people aren't willing to do. You got to put the work in, and you got to put the miles underneath your hands. And so you asked me, how do I try? Like you try. I go through a lot of interviews. I probably hire 10%, 20%. It's a lot of work. Same thing. There's no secret. Indeed. The classifieds of all the schools. And we hope to get resumes. I'll tell you, we fly them in. We fly them in. We put them up in a hotel. We hope that they appreciate that.
We treat it like a real business. We
treat it like a business.
Well, you tell me, like, what's kind of it seems like, just like, in the economy in general, that, the workers tend to be gaining more and more leverage. What's kind of a starting salary? What are people asking for right now? What's it take to get somebody started?
Well, look, the game has changed. Okay. When I graduated, I was $100,000 in debt. Now these poor kids are in debt by $250,000, $300,000. Now I'm a dad. I got 4 kids. A lot of it, and I get emotional because these kids are coming out of school with a lot of debt. We take care of them. We start them minimum 80, 85. Again, but you got to have good hands, because I will not take pity on you just because you graduate and you have debt. You have to have good hands. But if you have good hands, I'm going to reward you. I'm going to give you a starting salary. Maybe I think it's 80, 85, somewhere in that range. And of course, there's going to be bonus. So I want them to make about 6 figures in their first year through bonuses. They will work. I will drive you. I will train you. And you're going to make me money. And you're going to take stress away from me, and you're going to give me time, but I will pay you. And I don't know if 100 is the top level, but it's something that I can live with. I couldn't live with what they were offering $50,000 20 years ago. And I think there are certain chiropractors that expect to get that. But listen, if you're going to expect to pay someone $50,000, I hope you get a crappy chiropractor. And I hope those chiropractors aren't crappy, by the way. And if you don't have confidence in your hand, please join KTC. Brett Jones is running a great organization. He cares about the adjustment, the art of the adjustment. He's probably a little bit more intense than I am. He will make you a good chiropractor.
He's a different kind of intense. We'll say that.
I haven't had a chance to meet him yet, but I can't wait to. So about $100,000 on average. That's we're going to give him a base, but again, I believe in bonuses. I believe that you have to go above and beyond. But our bonuses are real. They're not impossible goals to meet.
And then that last pillar, retention. Like, what do you think is a big driver of having a good PVA and keeping people for life?
Well, look, we don't keep people for life.
Okay.
How about that? It's a contrarian way of thinking. We don't keep people for life. We do charge high fees. I have no problem saying we charge. Our average visit right now is $110. Now we're going integrative, which means we're bringing in stem cells. We're bringing in PRP, platelet-rich plasma, and stem cell. We're going to be doing. Now these are high ticket items. These are $6,000, $7,000, and I had an $11,000 case that just came on board last week. She's not going to be a lifetime patient. But she's going to get her neck not surgically fused and her low back not surgically fused, and she's going to be very happy. Okay. So I'm not a lifetime care for everyone kind of patient. Lifetime care, wellness care does not pay high ticket items. And if you want a high value, you can, but how much, I find personally, I'll tell you what I do. I don't know. And by the way, please don't feel that I'm judging anyone. It's my own business model, and I'm not. I was the GPC. I was the God patient chiropractor on the wall back in 1996. I didn't have fees. And then too many people thought that was weird, so I charged $35. Okay. And then after the 4th or 5th person left because I wasn't taking their insurance, I spoke to one of my mentors, and he said, I took insurance. This is the straightest guy out there. This is the guy that now doesn't think it's okay to take insurance. But back in the 1990s, thank God, he told me, hey, make it easy for your patients, make it easy. take their insurance. I took it. And once he gave me permission, I started taking insurance. But that was 6 months into my practice.
Sure.
Okay? So where I'm at right now is this. If a person comes in with urgency, okay, or their spine does not look good, they're willing to pay, on average, easy, no questions asked, $100 a visit for 30 visits. So my average care plan is 30 visits at $3,000. Some refer, but a lot of it comes from the internet. A lot of it comes from our marketing that we do. Yeah. So on average, we brought in, I think, 350. I think we did the numbers just past weekend. 350, divide that by 5 offices. 350 new patients came into the 5 offices last month. Mm-hmm. So whatever those numbers are.
70.
We don't have, what?
70 in office.
Okay, 70 per office per month?
Yeah.
Okay, which is about 15. Yeah, about 15 to 20 a week. Okay. If you have that many people coming, remember, this is pull marketing. I'm not meeting these people on the streets, begging them to come on in. I'm not twisting their arm. Hey, Mary, I'll give you a free chicken dinner. No. These are people looking out for us.
Right.
These are people that we're putting ourselves into prime selling. And they got a problem, and they picked us. They said that these guys, I think they can fix my problem.
Yeah. And
we take their x-rays, we put them on a care plan, and that's it. And about 25% of them convert onto wellness care. Wellness care for us is $175. I think it comes up to about $190 per month, and it is about $85 twice a month. That's it. I'm very comfortable with that. If they don't want it, that's fine. They'll be replaced by 2 other people that are willing to pay $100. But I don't want a bunch of $50 patients. That's going to drive my patient value average down.
Sure.
I'm trying to drive it up. I'm trying to build a brand that we can sell to private equity for for $100 million. Mm-hmm. You can't sell a brand for $100 million at $50 visit averages.
Sure.
So I'm not about that lifetime visit. I'm about high value, about good service. So
what do you think it'll take to get to the sell for $100 million to private equity?
An EBITDA of $10 million. And that's a multiplier of 10x. Now, let me give you guys a thing that you're going to sell it by buying a bunch of other practices together and painting, changing the name and changing carpeting, and you ain't going to do it, guys.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why you can't do that. You probably bought the practice for pennies on the dollar. It was a failing practice, and you bought it cheap. There's a reason why you probably bought that cheap practice that was failing. And it wasn't because it didn't have your procedures. Because I said before, 80% of what's out there is similar. It's at 20%. Your 20% of differential isn't going to change a failing practice into a successful practice, most likely. Mm-hmm. Most likely. I'm not saying it will, but I've seen a bunch of practices that were bought for pennies on the dollar. And I saw the location. It was in a dirt road. It was in the middle of nowhere. It was in a poor area. I was like, I wonder why it's failing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Prime selling additions. If it's not on a main road, if it's not great visibility, if it doesn't look pretty, okay? So when private equity walks into your office and they see a bunch of crap that you call a name, first of all, if you did make $10 million profit, EBITDA, earnings before interest deduction and appreciation, if you actually did make $10 million, which that can happen, they're probably not going to give you a 10x. They're probably going to give you a 5 or 6 or 7x. And the reason why is because there's a special word called homogenization. You have to be homogenized. If you walk into a Chick-fil-A, they all look the same because they're built from the ground up. If you walk into Chipotle, they all look the same because it's from the ground up. Same thing with McDonald's, same thing with Burger King, you name it. Burger King is not buying McDonald's and changing the lettering.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Yeah.
So chiropractors think, I'm going to buy a bunch of practice. Oh, we're going to go under a management team and we're going to sell this for, you ain't going to do it, guys. Mm-hmm. You're not going to do it. The second thing is you have to have a management team. So now, let's just say there's a big corporation, a conglomeration that is buying all these practices. Now you're going to buy me, right? I have a business model, right? You're going to buy another successful organization. They've got a business model. Mm. Now you got 4 or 5 bigger organizations that are going to be under one umbrella. It's never going to happen. But let's say you convince them, you're going to sell for a big number. Well, private equity, when they see a lack of a management team, they lower your EBITDA. So the 2 big things that I see as a weakness when it comes down to getting your highest multiplier, and I say a good multiplier is between 10 and 12x, and you're going to have that $10 million mark. But weakness is lack of homogenization, which means you got to build every practice from the ground up. You got to do that. If you don't, and they look all different when you walk in, and trust me, they will walk in your practices. And one looks like this, another one looks like this, and it's all over the place. that drives it down immediately. The second thing is, if you don't have a management team, what's a management team? Director of marketing, director of operations, director of human resources, director of auditing for notes, compliance. Those are major things that we have to have. Okay. Director of hiring. We have one person that hires everyone. Okay. She goes to that. We have a chief of operations. Got to have an executive, a leadership board. We have a board of advisors. He's a private equity venture capitalist. He's our board of advisors. He's scaled between him and his partners, scaled over 180 businesses. He's got $9.7 billion worth of sales in his company. He's our board of advisors. He's helping us do these things. So you have to have a lot of different things that doesn't meet the eye. So there's a lot of expenses. Now, the good thing is what I've just talked about, this management team, they're shared services. You asked me before, how do they grow so fast? 2 a year for 3 years. So we started in 2018 with
two offices a year, right?
Yeah, 2 offices a year.
Yeah.
We went from Golinsky Chiropractic to RX Wellness in 2018. By 2020, when I saw this model was working, we opened 2 more. And 2021, we opened 2 more. Okay, so now we got 5. We're opening 1 more this year. And then what we're going to do for ourselves is stop the growth and optimize, maximize, compress, meaning we're going to have all those offices filled up with doctors, because I'm cannibalizing. The faster I go, I'm bringing out good doctors and putting them into another office, and I'm losing a great doctor. So now I want to consolidate and get really good doctors in my offices and fill that up and grow those. And then we'll see where we can go. So I'm not so sure that we can't do 10 million in profit with what we're building.
Right.
Okay. Because we're going
to with the 6 that you have, you think you can get to the 10 million even?
Man, so we're just bringing in this thing called regenerative medicine. Okay? Stem cells, PRP, cash. I love that. They're high ticket items. They work, and people are desperate. And they go into a chiropractor. There's certain people that you can't help. Right. There's certain people that's bone on bone in their knees, and like, you don't want them in knee surgery, but that's their only option unless you can bring to them, hey, have you thought about regenerative medicine? What's that? And you explain to them. And that's a whole nother story. But, Nick, I'm not there yet. I can't give you a definitive because we just brought into regenerative medicine. But I can give you a good answer, a more accurate answer in about a year. Yeah. And I say a year because, again, to be excellent in something, it takes time. The first time you swing a golf club, it ain't going to be pretty. Yeah. Or a baseball bat. So I've been doing regenerative medicine for just 6 months right now, doing day 1, day 2 consult for stem cells. Now, I can tell you where I'm at in 6 months later is a lot better than it was 6 months ago. So I have a lot of doctors now that are just being introduced to the concept, and they're going to start loading off in about 4 weeks. Yeah. Probably going to be abysmal. Yeah. And some of them might never get the confidence. Some of my doctors that are used to asking for, $3,000 might not be able to be confident enough to ask for, $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000, and they might never be good. A lot of it's confidence and certainty. So I can't tell you how well they're going to do. So in about a year, I'm going to give it about a year to let you know where I feel we're going to be. Okay. But if the numbers work, yes, 6 offices at optimization can do it. Now, here's what optimization in my world looks like. 7 to 7. You got no lunch breaks. So I told you before, I'm in the office from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock until 1 o'clock. That's the first shift. The second shift is 1 o'clock till 7 o'clock. There's no lunch break for me. Okay. I go from 7 to 1. The next shift goes from 1 to 7. I got 5 doctors in Herndon. We see about 470, 480 a week. I don't consider that high volume because, trust me, when you got 5 doctors seeing about 100 people a week, there's no stress on us. We give good care. I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to have a little bit more staff than we need to give better care. It's not just crack, done. No, we do muscle work. We do ART. We do dry needling. We do cupping. We do whatever it takes for the patient. We are the shiny penny. We'll give them what they want. Okay, they're here because they want to get well, and that's what we'll do. So that's what optimization looks like. So I want all of my clinics to run on 7 to 7. Okay. Yep. 7 to 7. You got 4 doctors, 5 doctors for each clinic. Now, if you're doing that,
so real quick, does each doctor, like on Tuesday, Mary, associate number 3, she only works the 7 to 1 or the 1 to 7?
No, Mary will work. If Mary's going to work the 7 to 1 shift, she's going there Monday through Friday, and then the afternoon shift, Dr. Tom, he's going to go from 1 to 7.
That's what I'm saying. Like on a day, they pick one or the other. It's not like they're working 7 to 7.
No. They're not working 7 to 7.
Okay.
So we want to conserve our doctors' energy. We also look. This is the long game. There's too many doctors out there that are my age that did the high volume thing. I went to DE, and I came out of chiropractic college thinking if I wasn't seeing 300 people in a week, and by the way, DE was giving their services away for nothing, which I found out later on. But if you weren't seeing 300 people in a day after a year, you weren't doing your job right.
Right.
And guys, you got to take care of your body. If you're going to give good service, you got to give back to your body. Don't abuse your body by giving 100 adjustments a day by yourself. It's not a pride thing. Yes, in the very beginning, you can feel proud of yourself, but by the time you're my age, I'm 54 years old, you're going to wish you didn't do it. You're going to have a labrum reconstruction or a spine your rotator cuff's going to be off, your elbows, your wrists. Things aren't going to be working the way they were when you're 27 or 28 years old. Yeah. So I see that with my young docs, and I say, look, and they're very happy. They're like, oh my gosh, you're not going to, no, we're not going to eat our young. We got to remember, I'm hiring quality, which means I got to protect my quality. Yeah. I got to protect my herd. Yeah. So one shift is 7 to 1, and that's consistent.
Yeah.
So if the patient walks in, they know who they're going to see.
Right.
It's consistent.
Yeah.
And so in my world, we have 2 offices that have that right now, and now we're molding out to, that's the plan. So we are going to be building our 6th office, opening that up in about 10 weeks. And the next 18 months, our goal is to consolidate and maximize those offices.
So let me. So Herndon is your main office, right?
Yes.
That's the biggest office.
Yeah.
And how much does that collect in a year?
Well, let's see. I'll show you right now. I'm not going to bullshit you.
Your wife's going to hate this. What? Your wife's going to hate this.
Yeah. This is what's today's date?
The 7th.
Okay, 7th. Can you see that number? What's that number right there? What's the number, the bottom number?
72,000.
72,000. That's what we've done so far in 7 days.
In Herndon.
In Herndon, one office. Last month. Oh, she's going to hate me. Oh, she's going to hate me. I'm trying to bring it up right now. Well,
this is a great spot, Corey. If you're listening, this is a great spot for Blue IQ.
Yeah, this is Blue IQ. that number last month in Herndon.
So that's 2.5. That's like 3 million, right?
Yeah. That's Herndon.
So you're going to be starting this new one, and you're going to be optimizing everything. Herndon is the golden shining star.
Yeah.
What do you think it'll take to go from scratch to 300,000 in 3 million a year in whatever the new one's going to be?
We have to optimize it. You have to have 4 or 5 doctors.
Yeah.
You're going to have hours from 7 to 7. No, you're not going to make $3 million working 6 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have 12 hours a day, 5. You got to have 60 hours a week.
Yeah. Just
get over the idea that, you can have this work-life balance. No, you want to make $3 million. Maybe, by the way, there's going to be that 1%. So I'm apologizing right now to that 1%. But
sure.
The average, look, I'm an average dumb guy. Mm-hmm. I'm not smart.
Right.
I just have common sense and a little bit of business savvy. But people don't want to be herded in like cattle. I know it because I had that 10 to 1, 4 to 7 thing, and we would get like 80 people in that 10 to 1, 4 to 7 ring, and they hated it. Mm-hmm. They hated waiting for an hour. That's not a good patient experience. People will pay for the experience and the care,
mm-hmm.
but they will not wait and be okay with herded like cattle and waiting and in a quick 5-minute adjustment. It doesn't work. At least that's in my world.
Yeah.
Now, again, you're seeing my numbers.
Yeah.
They're actual. They're $3 million. And I'm telling you, this is what we did.
Yeah.
We have optimized by seeing 7 to 1, but I'm not working 7 to 7. Okay. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. By the time it's 5 o'clock or 5:15, I'm meditating. Mm-hmm. I intermittent fasting. My first meal's at 1 o'clock. I'm focused, man. I'm laser. I can tell you exactly when I go to sleep. I can tell you when I wake up. There is a purpose to everything that I do. And I'm in that office at 7 o'clock and I'm done serving people at 1 o'clock, and I probably leave by 2:30. Mm-hmm. In the gym by 3:30, and I'm back home by 5 o'clock. Yeah. It's a nice day.
Yeah.
By the way, by 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock, I'm actually on my statistics on Blue IQ, making sure my statistics in the other offices are right, because I don't have a chance to get out there. But I have a practice manager for each office. And again, I have my management team that also evaluates statistics, conversions of people from day 1 to day 2, from day 2 to care. Also, here's another statistics. What's the percentage of people that call in that actually get into your office?
Yeah.
Okay, that's about 50% for most people nationwide. And when we went from 7 to 7, that number went from 50% to about 80% because now we had bandwidth. Now we were answering the phone at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can get them in because we had more hours for people to be seen.
Yeah.
But you asked the question, how do you get to $3 million in Ashburn? And by the way, that is a prime selling condition place. Loudoun County, that's where I'm going to be opening, is the wealthiest town in America. Wealthiest county in America. If I can't do 3 million, jeez. Man, that's why I'm opening that practice.
Yeah.
3 million, 3 years.
Do you know Jay Greenstein?
I love Jay.
Okay, because you got the same like energy as he does, and he's in DC, I think, right?
Jay's a lot smarter. Jay, can I borrow your brain, dude? He's a technical entrepreneur. He's got this amazing software. I love it. I hung out with Jay at the UVCA, so he's a chiropractor in Virginia. He's got multiple practices also. If you haven't had him, but we were working in the gym. I took a nice selfie for Jay, and I think he put me on his Instagram feed, so I was pretty honored. I love Jay.
Well, man, I tell you what, it's been an eye opener, and I feel like a lot of people hopefully got some value out of hearing just like 100 million is a big number, and I think that people need to hear, not that everybody needs to do that. Not everybody's got to do multiple practices. Not everybody's got to try to sell to private equity, right. But man, it sure is nice to know what possible is.
Let me tell you why I'm doing it.
All right.
Because I don't fly first class. I fly coach. I don't wear expensive clothes. I'm a gym rat. I want to put on 5 more pounds of muscle than I do make another $1 million. I mean, I'm a blue collar guy. Here is my why. In the very beginning, I told you I love chiropractic. I love it so much. And I have a chip on my shoulder that we're not respected. That's my chip. And you guys might think that you're respected, and that's great. I remember what it was like in the 1990s when we weren't respected. The reason why I want to do this thing from the ground up in less than 7 or less than 8 years is because I want a case study to be written on RX Wellness. I want that case study to be written by like a 𝗂 or a New York University Stearns or a UMich Ross, okay? Or a McIntyre at UVA. I want it to be put into a major business school. What happens when you have a case study? Other venture capitalists can have access to this. And I want the venture capitalists to see, hey, chiropractic, this is a real business. Maybe we should start investing our money into chiropractic. I want to see the level of professionalism and respect rise in our profession. That's why I'm doing it. I don't care about the money. Because half that money I'm going to pay off politicians to put the rules of chiropractic for favoring us. It ain't about the money. It's about the respect and professionalism that I want venture capitalists and private equity to see that invest in us, man. We can make you money. We are a profession that you should respect. That's the why. That's why I do what we're doing.
That's great. Well, Phil, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate all the expertise. Seems like you're doing some great things out there. So I hope that hope we hit that 10 million soon. Man.
What's your favorite island?
My favorite island?
Yeah.
I'm going to Sicily this week, so I'm going to say future Nick will probably say Sicily.
All right, Nick, go put this out there, all your viewers. If we do get that, if we do get that thing, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to charter you and I. We're going to charter an airplane. We're going to go to Sicily. And you're Italian, right?
Yeah.
You are Italian. I'm Jewish. I don't know Italy like you, and I can take you to Israel, but you're going to take me to Italy.
You sound more Italian than me.
I'm Long Island. You're either Jewish or Italian, and like half the time I was working with a construction gig, they thought I was the boss's son. But
I'm really glad I said Sicily and not like South Padre Island.
Yeah, right. That's Texas. But anyway, so we're gonna try. If I get this thing done, okay, you and I and some other chiropractic giants, let's go charter an airplane. Let's go to Sicily. You're going to give us a tour. How does that sound?
I don't fly private, but I'll definitely go business class with you.
All right. Well, I've never flown private either. In fact, I've never flown first class.
Yeah.
For real. I've never, and it drives my friends nuts. So why can't you? I go, I'm a little guy. I'm only 5'5" and I'm 160 pounds. I don't need a big plane. But for that, I want to indulge myself. So if we do it, well then hell, we'll go to Sicily and then we'll have a good time out there.
All right, man. Well, Phil, I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys got a lot of good value out of this, and we will see you on the next one.